those calls are either being routed to the site and go unanswered 70 to 80% of the time, or maybe an internal contact center that chooses not to call back customers who don't leave voicemails. All of those customer contacts are being ignored, and each one of those can provide really insightful information in terms of why is that customer choosing to call your business.
From the iShin Broadcast Studio, it's Wash Talk.
Welcome to Wash Talk, the Car Wash podcast. I'm Kyle Alexander, and joining me today is Michael Pelikan with Retention Express. Hey, Michael, thanks for chatting with me today.
Hey, Kyle, how you doing?
Doing all right. Thanks for joining me on Wash Talk today. Talking a little bit about AI and car wash data, fun topics that are becoming so relevant in the car wash industry today. And, you know, most car wash owners and operators got into this business not really with data on top of mind when entering the industry. So, Michael, my first question for you today, what is the one piece of data that a car wash operator may not be tracking right now that would completely change how they run their business?
Yeah, great question, Kyle. And AI is currently the buzzword of the industry, as it is, I think, in all industries, and how AI can play a role in the capture of data. You know, coming from the customer support, customer experience side of the business, I think that is the largest, area that car wash operators are not truly tracking at this point, which is why are customers contacting their business? You know, we see from prospective clients and conversations at the various trade shows across the country that most operators don't know why customers are calling. Those calls are either being routed to the site and go unanswered 70 to 80% of the time, or maybe an internal contact center that chooses not to call back customers who don't leave voicemails. All of those customer contacts are being ignored, and each one of those can provide really insightful information in terms of why is that customer choosing to call your business? What information are they seeking? And oftentimes, if it's someone who's looking to cancel, they're going to find that means to get that cancellation processed. However, if it's about hours or about pricing and you're simply not answering the phone, they may go elsewhere. They may find that information at the wash down the road. And so we're truly seeing that the blind spot within the industry is understanding why customers or prospective customers are electing to contact your business and the true reason behind that.
Now, before AI came into the picture for our industry, what did data collection look like for, the average car wash operator? Maybe talk me through how much information operators were missing just because data wasn't at the forefront of a car wash operation.
Yeah, 100%. What I'll say is this. I think in any car wash operation, the focus is usually generating towards number of washes per day, membership counts, churn, chemical usage, all very transactional information. And again, coming from the customer experience side, we aren't necessarily seeing the behavioral data being presented. And that's where you're really going to understand from your customer base their feelings towards your brand, your feelings towards your wash, the experiences that they're having, as well as why those customers are contacting. And I don't think car wash operators were necessarily unaware they were missing this data. I just don't think it was accessible to them, with modern, telephony systems and phone logs, or the site manager taking that call. It was always transactional, make that cancellation or answer that question. But the data capture was never there to be able to present then the trend lines. And I think that's why you're seeing such a big push, whether it's CRMs coming into the car wash space and having really intense analytics behind them and giving operators further insights, or leveraging services like ourselves with AI that can then show day over day, month over month, week over week, whatever analyzation you want to look at. We're truly seeing how those trend lines can be developed in a transactional space that just was never feasible at that point.
Absolutely. And now that we have AI kind of tracking these customer interactions at car washes, what does the data actually look like, and what kind of business trends are now coming to the surface with this data?
Yeah, another great question. Honestly, I think people are very surprised that about 50 to 60% of customer inquiries are informational questions. And yes, they may have a great website or they have informational services on their social media, but people today are still electing to pick up the phone and get that information quickly and as easily as possible. And so I think, most operators would be surprised to see that 50 to 60% makeup is going to be your hours of operation. Potentially, why were you closed today? What is your pricing? One we often see as well is we always sell memberships, but people will ask, do I need a membership to come visit your wash? What tells us that while the memberships are dominating the industry, people still want to know, can I go visit you just on a retail basis? And that is, again, an opportunity to capture revenue and capture a consistent returning customer who may just come and purchase single washes. And so I think that's been the high point is really being able to understand what information people are seeking and why. And then operators then have the choice on how they want to pivot the business. We actually have a current client who we've been getting a ton of information coming in about, do you offer multifamily discounts? And at the time they didn't. They chose not to, but we kept getting that question after question. And through the trend line, they said, you know what? This holiday, we're going to run it. And they saw 15% of their current membership population added a secondary vehicle, which obviously almost doubles the LTV of that customer. And multi-vehicle plans tend to have the longest membership lifespan, of every membership type. And so, we were able to provide that data to them, and that captured an additional $30,000 to $40,000 a month in revenue just because they saw that was the missing link in the business. The trial went great in December of the holidays, and come January 1st, they stuck to it. They're now offering family plans year round, but they may not have made that choice or that jump had they not seen the data and the fact that their customers were hungry for this, or they wanted this, or their competition down the road were offering it, and it was a missed opportunity for them. So we truly see that these trends can provide not only insights to the business, but missing revenue opportunities. And a change like this can be substantial for an operation.
Right. That's a huge turn of events there in a very positive way just by keeping track of some of this data. So that's
100%.
really cool to hear. Now, I know at Retention Express, you work a lot with phone calls. And for car washes, it's a pretty rich data point that an operator can dive into. Tell me a little bit about what AI can capture from a phone conversation that can become a measurable business insight for operators.
Yeah. So we really look at things in three main categories. And so the categories we look to capture is first customer intent or the topic of conversation. So why are they calling? Is it an account related issue? Is it cancellation? Is it hours of operation, membership pricing, or normal pricing? We then also bucketize it in terms of sentiment, and the AI can capture whether or not that customer was calling angry, frustrated, upset, happy. What was the sentiment of the conversation, the tone of the discussion? And then lastly, we're also tracking then the outcomes, and the outcome can be, was the issue resolved? What percentage of calls require that live intervention of human support? So what is your transfer rate to live support, which can then further give you insights in terms of the type of support you may need internally, or to leverage someone like Retention Express to be able to do the live support that the AI simply cannot handle. And that's one thing we are seeing with API connections today. The AI can go end to end in certain categories, but our data isn't always clean. And so things can fail, right? And license plate information was wrong. The end user didn't spell their name right. All of that can create a ticket to not be resolved. And so all of that creates those three main buckets for us to then be able to analyze things accordingly. And one thing that helps with it is, again, that tone and that intent. And most customers just want to be heard. And so for us to be able to see how that tone gauges allows us to then really understand, is there a pressure point within the operation that needs to be addressed? Is there a problem in the sales process? Is there a problem within the point of sale on billing prices that could be causing customer friction? All of that provides insights into those three main buckets to get a general sense of why people are calling and their overall temperature towards the brand and the overall operations.
I want to dive a little further into something you mentioned there, and we were talking about it just before we started this interview, was those API connections. Can you tell me some of the benefits you're seeing with API connections and all of this data and AI?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in today's age with click to cancel potentially coming back around, individuals want to be able to cancel their membership as easy as it was to sign up. And so that's why you often see online membership portals that can go end to end. You hit cancel, and that API connection is allowed to identify that customer and cancel that within the point of sale. But we also see just how it can make it the personalization. I think a lot of people in the industry would say our point of sale data or customer data, CRM data, can often be incorrect. It may be of an old phone number, an old email address. But when we're able to go into an API connection, I can then say, hey, Kyle, thank you for calling back today. You see those experiences when you call like Delta. Delta makes every interaction personable because they have your phone number saved or they know what your SkyMiles account is. Similarly, with API connections into the point of sale, we can personalize that message. We can confirm to them, hey, not only have we canceled your membership, but this is your last day to use the wash, and provide all those substantial details without necessarily needing that human intervention. So API connections have definitely opened the door to, especially with certain point of sale operators that are allowing that free access. And so again, it's definitely an evolution today. But we are seeing some strong indicators of how that personalization can just take that customer experience to the next level.
For sure. And now we're kind of diving into some of the website stuff just a little bit here. When you look at data that's coming from AI-powered phone interactions, and now we're seeing, chat bots trying to answer questions on car wash websites, how are those two data sets different from each other? What are the differences between the AI phone calls and the web chat options and functionalities on car wash websites? And what types of traffic do each of these types of interactions produce?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'll say is this. Phone calls are generally that high touch, immediate response that someone's seeking. It's someone who's either looking to get immediate assistance or they're on their way home. They want to know how late the wash is open to see if they can make that stop before they head home for the day. It's something that usually generates quite an immediate response, and they're looking to get that immediate resolution. When it comes to what we see out of the virtual chat assistants is that a lot of things are very exploratory. They're very question driven. The conversations tend to last quite longer. And while this information, again, may be readily available on the website, we see 35% of our virtual chat assistant conversations are geared towards revenue generation opportunities. So whether that's membership pricing, single wash, what's a family plan, what are the wash comparisons, it's very exploratory. And what the data shows for us and why that aligns is that we see that 85% of our chats are actually resolved within the chat and not transferred to a live agent. Well, we can see that the transfer number on the phone can be anywhere between 40 to 60%, depending on the brand and type. So as you can see, you're talking about a 50% average resolution on the phone with an 85% resolution in chat. And so I think it really just highlight that behavior. And so it shows that, at least on the website, people just want that information. Instead of going to locations or hitting that membership services, they're going to the chat and saying, tell me about your plans. What are the details? They want that information just given to them versus spending the time to navigate the site. And so I do believe that we are seeing that chat assistants can play a very strong hand in providing further information that can lead directly to revenue through just the exploratoriness of people on the website, while the phone conversations are highly driven towards immediate resolution. I'm looking to get assistance. How can I get this information as quickly as possible?
Definitely good to kind of draw the line between the two there. I think that'll be very helpful for operators to kind of know the difference there between the web
Absolutely.
chat functions and AI powered phone calls. Now, obviously, car wash operators may have hundreds of customer interactions happening each and every week at their car wash. How does AI organize all of this activity into something that an operator can make a smart business decision from?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Retention Express, we create custom dashboards in several different platforms that we leverage. With our live support, we have a very detailed Power BI dashboard that can highlight up to 27 different reasons for cancellation and do cancellation comparison month over month. We're also then creating these custom dashboards on the AI virtual chat assistant, as well as AI voice, so that we can do these comparisons. We can see what's the difference between the virtual chat as well as the phone. And so we create these dashboards and work with our operators to say, what is most relevant to you? Do you want to see number of calls per day, average minutes on the phone, topics, how do we want to capture those topics? We do look to customize that to say you may be a full serve, so you may want further details on the wash packages or how many bookings were scheduled through the automation, all of those details. But we're able to create that and store that in very customizable dashboards. And we always look to have as much detail as possible, but also create those executive summaries, because we know operators are busy. Sometimes they just want those quick hitting points. And so, again, we try to give as many means as possible, but dashboards really play a role within that. And all of that does come in with further API connections to be able to, connect data to data and connect where the AI is storing that initial data to then obviously a digestible format that the operator can see and be able to analyze accordingly. And so for us, the dashboards are extremely helpful, but then we also meet with our clients bi-weekly, monthly, and talk about this stuff and really run through the reporting. And so I think that's also the element to it, is data is only as important as the attention you give it. And so if you're not looking at this, or you're not spending the time to analyze it or have this discussion, you're missing out on those potential opportunities to either streamline the business, create new revenue opportunities, or change something that is potentially inhibiting you from continuing to see growth at the site.
For sure. Kind of expanding on, learning about what's in the data. Once an operator has that at their fingertips, this clean, reliable data, what is the big takeaway that they kind of discover about their own business that surprises them? I know you said you kind of go work with some of your operators to work through the data. What is that big discovery that they learn about their business?
Yeah, I think it comes back to the first question, which is they're surprised by how many people are truly calling each and every day. I don't think because they have a true sense. We'll ask operators all the time, what is your average call volume? And by the time they come into our organization, we generally see that to be 50 to 100% higher than what they anticipated, just because those calls aren't being answered, or their customer base is now knowing that phone is now being answered. So they're more willing to make that contact because they know it's actually going to be answered. And so what I will say is I think they're very surprised by how many individuals are selecting to call, and why it's all generated 50% of the time out of informational services. So while some people may think hours of operation questions aren't that important, for us, we view it as either single wash opportunities that are going to be captured, or it's a member who is looking to utilize their wash in their membership, which is establishing that habit that every operator wants their member to start fulfilling, instead of eventually canceling because of lack of use. And so by giving that information readily available, you're starting to see that, wow, people are truly contacting us for these very simple questions, or holiday hours, right? Everyone is very surprised, even though they posted on their social media or Google, we are closed for Christmas. We still can see 1,500 to 2,000 calls across our clients on Christmas, just asking if we're open, right? So being able to have the AI take all of that, allow our people to be offline for that day, enjoy the day with their families, AI is able to answer all of those and provide also, hey, yeah, we are closed today, but we will be open tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you on site, December 26th for normal business hours. And so all of that truly kind of highlights that people just truly don't know why people are contacting the wash, and they're very surprised when they start to see the reason, as well as the volumes that do generally come in.
Awesome insight here. Michael, thanks for taking the time to talk with me today. One last question for you here before we go. Looking at data trends that you're seeing across your car wash operators right now, where's the single biggest revenue opportunity that most operators are currently overlooking?
Yeah, I think that's a tough question, because it's one that's multifaceted, and so you're ending on a high note. I truly do believe that membership retention has always been at the forefront of everyone's mind. It generally costs 2x the amount to acquire a new customer than it does to keep an existing. And most members that are contacting us, whether it's regarding a cancellation or account related inquiry, they just want to be heard. They want someone to understand their frustration and their pain, and they want to know that their call is being handled. And so with the development of AI, that person is getting answered on the first ring, whether they're calling at 8 a.m., 6 a.m., midnight, that call is being answered 24/7, 365. And we can see that people who don't get that call answered and they need assistance are going to call over and over and over again until they finally get someone on the phone. And so I think what AI is presenting that interaction to maintain memberships. It's engaging with the base that they have that is obviously generating the most revenue for the organization, and looking to protect that from exiting the door. And so I think AI is doing a really great job of just engaging with the customer base, understanding their issues, and potentially leading towards a resolution in a timely manner. Oftentimes people will call and say, I want to change my license plate. I just got a brand new vehicle. Well, AI can say, you can manage your membership online, or you can change it at the next visit. Just talk to one of our team members on site. But if that answer is not being developed and discussed, that person may eventually say, hey, you know what? I'm going to cancel this because I got to start a new one anyways. And who's to say they're going to sign back up at your wash versus the one down the road who's running a brand new membership promotion? So all of these are opportunities to engage with your membership base. New revenue is always fantastic, new membership sales, but how do we protect what we currently have? And how do we ensure that our operations are running at a high level to, really validate the reason they're paying for this membership, the experience they're having, and to get a good, clean car experience? So I think that's what we're really truly seeing is the biggest revenue opportunity is protecting the revenue you currently have, and then leveraging your marketing and leveraging your other avenues to go get new customers without seeing that churn continue to increase.
Awesome, Michael. Again, thank you so much for joining me and giving your great insights on this episode of Wash Talk. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you, Kyle. It was a pleasure as well.